Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, monomili wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show, and please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, Ghana, Himalaya, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Kristen Lee. She is here to celebrate her YA title. It's called Sun Keep Rising. Before we invite Kristen into the studio, we want to let you know we have a brand new episode of Drawing with Your Kids. It is available on drawingwithyourkids.com. It's also available on our Reading with Your Kids YouTube channel. Today, Lauren Castillo teaches us how to draw hedgehog from her beautiful children's book, Our Friend Hedgehog, Place to Call Home. This video that Lauren created is absolutely magical. Not only does she teach us how to create hedgehog and draw a hedgehog, but she teaches us how to create a whole beautiful world, and it's spectacular. And I know that you and your kids are absolutely going to love this lesson. You can find the video at drawingwithyourkids.com. You can also find it at our Reading with Your Kids YouTube channel. Join us right now from beautiful Philadelphia. Our guest is here today to celebrate her brand new YA title. It's called Sun Keep Rising. Please welcome to the show acclaimed author Kristen Lee. Hey, Kristen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm really excited to have you on the program and to talk about this book. I think it's pretty important and pretty topical, too. Please tell us all about Sun Keep Rising.
So Sun Keep Rising follows my main character, Bianca, who is a recent teenage mother, and she's undergoing economic hardships. So in order to keep her head afloat, she starts to do some not so PG things, I would say. She starts to steal to make ends meet, and with that comes a whole lot of other problems that she now has to add on top of her way into parenthood.
Yeah. So
it's basically a story about a young mother who's finding her way in a world that she feels like is ever changing and it doesn't have a place for her.
It's a really powerful. I read the description of it, and Bianca is faced with challenges that not only a lot of single teenage mothers are facing, but a lot of families are facing at this time when the cost of housing is absolutely skyrocketing and is pretty obscene, in my opinion.
Yes, it's hard for everyone right now. So, and imagine a 17-year-old girl who is also living with her sister who's only 25, who also has a kid. So they're both struggling to make ends meet right now. And when I began to write this novel in 2020, I didn't think it would be so timely to what we're dealing with now.
Well, I think it really is important. And if people aren't aware of it, and I don't know how you can't be aware of it, but in so many places like Boston, New York City, San Francisco, probably Philadelphia, the rents are. The paper here, the Boston Globe, did a study, and they found that in order to rent a one-bedroom apartment here in the city of Boston, a person has to make $181,000 a year. And I don't know how many 20-year-olds are able to make $181,000 a year.
I don't know that many either. When I first moved to New York, actually, and I moved to New York so I can have the inspiration to start writing, I lived in a boarding house with 20 other people, and we were still paying $700 a piece to live there.
Unbelievable. And this is, I think it's there might be somebody out there thinking, well, why does my 15-year-old need to start talking about the cost of housing and, the challenges that your character is facing? I have my ideas, but why don't you tell folks why you think it's important for kids to be not only reading about this, but having conversations about this with their folks?
I think because it already affects them even at 15 and 16 years of age. You see your mother struggling to do X, Y, and Z, or you say that your friends have certain things that you don't at that age, and you wonder why, and you ask these questions of why. And I feel like it's okay to be honest with kids that age about how hard it is in America right now to survive, especially when most are surviving off a one income, or even if you have two incomes, it's only equaling one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there one thing in particular, other than maybe living in a rooming house with 20 other people and paying $700 a month for rent, that inspired this particular story?
Well, it's mostly inspired by growing up in Memphis. My mother was a teenage mother who underwent these type of economic challenges raising us. She had 3 kids by the time she was 20, so she was a teenage mother herself. Then my grandmother was a teenage mother who also went through the same thing. So it was a generational cycle that was broken with me and my sisters, and I wanted people to know that these things happen, but also know that you can overcome these type of situations, because right now, like, my mother started off as a teenage mother who was undergoing economic challenges. She could not afford rent by herself. We had, growing up, I remember having to go to food banks and all this other things. But now she's older now, and she's more stable. She's on her feet now. And I thought that was when I was writing this story, I thought, wow, you really had a great overcoming story. If you were talking to your 16-year-old self, would you think that, hey, the girl who had 3 kids by 20 would be in your position that you're in now? And so I wanted to show maybe this is where you start, but this is not where you have to end up.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an incredibly important message for kids to get, not only in thinking about themselves, but also thinking about others and understanding that, if some of my friends make some choices, find themselves in a difficult situation, it doesn't mean that they are stuck in that situation. And maybe there's something I can do to help support them.
Yeah, and that's mostly what these teenage girls, teenage mothers need. Really is support, resources, community. Going out and not them, people coming to them and saying, hey, you have this situation right now, but this does not have to be the end of your story. You can still go to college if you want. You can still go to that trade school if you want. You can still learn these new skills. Babies are hard, yes, but they do not have to be the end of your life,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Especially when you're just starting.
Absolutely. I wasn't a teenage girl when we welcome kids into the world. But for me, it was the beginning of a beautiful journey. And what a wonderful community and society would have if we could find a way that everybody who is welcoming a child into their family could feel the same way and have that support that we were blessed to have.
Yes. I think that's the main thing of Bianca's story is she wants that support, but she feels that, since I have this kid and everyone in my neighborhood, this is normal around here, so no one is really taking me seriously about my goals and the things that I want to do, and they just look at me in a certain way. And now I feel like I have to step into what they want me to be, because that's all they're going to see me as anyway.
Yeah. I'm wondering, you're talking about the transformation that your mom was able to make, and that in some ways this book was inspired by your family. What was your mom's, did your mom have a chance to read the book yet? And if she did, what was her reaction?
She has not had a chance to read the book yet. I'm kind of scared for her too. But I'm sure she will, and I'm sure we'll have a long discussion when she does.
Well, go right ahead.
She knows the book is like based off her and based off her life and some of the things she went through growing up. So I don't know if she wants to rehash the past right now or yeah.
Well, hopefully she'll be able to see it as a way to kind of just celebrate where she was and where she is now.
Yes, that's what I hope will be the outcome.
Well, hopefully parents who are listening aren't going to be afraid to have discussions with their kids about Sun Keep Rising. What kind of conversations do you think parents and their teens can have as they maybe read together or co-read Sun Keep Rising?
I think the biggest issue that's brought up in Sun Keep Rising is relationships, especially teenage relationships. I don't think that parents really take relationships that teenagers have seriously as they should. We think of it as like puppy love or like, oh, that isn't going to last, don't get too attached. Or, but in Sun Keep Rising, we see how the relationship that Bianca was in kind of damaged her for the worse. Like, she talks about how when she got into a relationship, she kind of felt like she was in a very dark space, but no one was listening to how she felt, or they told her, oh, keep going or keep dealing with this person because he's doing X, Y, Z for you. And, in your relationship, if someone's giving you money or making you feel good about yourself, then that's all that matters. But it's really not if you're feeling afterwards, you're feeling like a different person. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest takeaway that I want parents to talk about their kids with is like, talk to your kids about the relationships they're in. Make sure they're healthy relationships, and even though you think they're just like for now, those for now relationships can really carry with you for a good majority of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's vital for us to talk to our kids about relationships. And I also know that there are loads of parents out there who are terrified of the idea of bringing it up with their kids because, they just imagine their kids are going to blow up at them and not want to talk to them. And as we've talked about here on the podcast, talking about a character in a book, talking about a story and decisions that a character is making is a really wonderful and a really safe way to start having conversations about these topics with our kids, because we're not sitting down and saying, I want to talk to you about your relationship. It's like, let's talk about Bianca and the decisions she made. And do you know anybody in your life that's making similar decisions? And what do you think Bianca could do? And all that kind of stuff.
Do you feel the way Bianca feels? Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt the way Bianca felt? Yes. Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah. I want to ask you, because you may have the answer, because I certainly don't. This has been a topic that I've been thinking about forever, since my kids went out and started trying to find housing for themselves. How do you think we can deal with the housing crisis that so many young people are faced with right now?
I still don't have the answers to that. I really don't. Right now, my biggest thing is community, forming a community. I'm actually talking to a few of my friends about buying some land, building houses all together on this land. Let's pool our resources to make the community that we need. When you share a space, I wouldn't go back to a boarding house with 20 people, but sharing a piece of land with 5 of my friends would definitely be better than paying $2,500 for a 1-bedroom in New York or $2,000 for a 2-bedroom in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad you're talking about it with your friends. I hope that we all start talking about it, and because it's not right when a young person has to pay the bulk of their salary to their housing.
And I think I think minimum wage now is just $15. Even in New York, it's only $15. Mm-hmm. And I don't know a person in the world right now who could afford anything on $15 an hour.
You certainly can't afford an apartment in Boston or New York or Philadelphia or even Baltimore, where my daughter spent some time. So, yeah. I actually did the math, not too long ago. Well, if I get $15 an hour, I'm working full time, and the apartment is this much, and it's like, oh, I'm negative already.
You're definitely going paycheck to paycheck, or you're barely scraping by, or you're going without something, and it's usually something that you need, mm-hmm. like food or health insurance or car insurance. And then once you start, like in Bianca's case, she starts doing illegal things, and the point of the story is, why does she have to go that far? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why does she have to go out and do illegal things just to provide food for her child? Yeah. To save her, to save a house and a neighborhood that she's been in her whole life from gentrification.
Yeah, really, really, really important topics. Hey, we have a little bit of time left over. I wanted to touch base because I think I have a disenfranchised freshman in my life. My niece, who I adore, is a freshman. She's studying biomedical engineering, and she is the only Latina in her freshman college class in this really good school. And you are the author of Required Reading for Disenfranchised Freshmen. Can you talk a little bit about that book and give this old guy some advice that I can share with the disenfranchised freshmen in my life?
So this Required Reading follows Savannah, as she is the first person in her family to go to college, and her college that she attends is Wooddale, which is a predominantly white college in a predominantly white city. So automatically she feels out of place. And while she's there, she uncovers an admissions scandal that it's allowing the privileged white kids to get into school without putting in the work that everyone else has to do. So Savannah is loosely based off my college story, because I also went to a predominantly white school where I was usually one and two in a majority white class. So it was usually either only me or it was me and another person. Mm-hmm. So what I did to survive, my favorite word of the day is community. Find your people. They will make it so much better. Awesome. In Required Reading, Savannah, she finds her two best friends, and they really stick beside her the entire story. They are older than her. They are sophomores, and she's a freshman. So they basically teach her how to survive on the campus. And that is also true to what I did in real life, because I had to find my community in order to survive, especially in a place that constantly reminded me that I was the other and not the majority.
Yeah. Your favorite word of the day, community, I think is so vital, and it's something that we've touched on here in the podcast in a number of different ways, talking about not only community but family. And there's two types of family: the family that you're born into, and the family that you choose. And I think that's a really important message. I think that we should start sharing with our kids at a very young age, how important community is, and how important family is, and how important it is for us to support each other.
Yes, because when you find really great friends, a really great community, it is really hard to let them go. Yeah. And it's usually for a lifetime friendship. Like the friends I made while I went to that college, we might not talk every day or every month, but when we come back together, it's always, hey, these are my people. I know that I can go to them when I need help.
That's wonderful. Hey, Kristen, could you tell us where we can go to find out more about Sun Keep Rising, and also more about you?
Sure. On all my platforms, I'm Kristen Lee Books on Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on TikTok, but I don't post on TikTok yet, but stay tuned. You can go to my website, KristenLeeBooks.com. And yeah.
Awesome. We've had a really fascinating conversation with the author of Sun Keep Rising, Kristen Lee. Kristen, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Carissa Turpin. She'll be here to celebrate Doomsday Danny. It's her debut middle grade novel. Hey, we want to encourage all the authors that are listening to please be sure to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page to find out how we can help you celebrate your book with the world. You can be a guest here on the podcast. It's fun, it's easy, it gives you the chance to tell the world in a long-form conversation all about your book, about your inspiration, about you and your brand. You can also learn how you can submit your book to our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read panel. And you can find out how you can be a part of our monthly promotion program. We will celebrate your book with commercials here on the podcast, with messages to our 110,000 plus social media followers, and have your book on display at whatever live event we will be part of. And in February of 2023, we'll be at the PTO Today Expo in Edison, New Jersey. What a great way to tell thousands of educators about your fantastic book. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guest, Kristen Little. Please be sure to check out Sun Keep Rising. Also want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Jordan Saley, Stephanie Davila, Will Cheever, Cassandra Masonet, Sabrina Wu. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.